But we begin with the ongoing crisis between Russia and Ukraine. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has confirmed the American embassy in Kyiv will temporarily move to Lviv. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian president is not ruling out dropping his country's bid to join NATO. He says he still wants to, but admits it may be, quote, a dream. One of Russia's top security demands is that Ukraine not be admitted into the alliance. As Russian troops continue to take part in military exercises near Ukraine, Russia's foreign minister is advising President Putin to continue talks with the West. But this comes as U.S. officials warn a Russian attack on Ukraine could happen any day now. CBS News' Skylar Henry has more from the White House.
Mr. President, is the risk of a Russian invasion higher than ever?
President Biden spoke with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson amid growing fears that Russian forces could invade Ukraine within days.
He continues to add to his readiness. He continues to give himself more options should he pursue a military path here.
On
Monday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told citizens he's been informed that an invasion could come as soon as this Wednesday. CBS News has learned some Russian troops have moved out of assembly areas near the Ukrainian border and have begun to move into attack positions. But in a televised meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov suggested diplomacy was still possible and urged Putin to continue talks with the West.
We too believe that there still should be and can be a diplomatic path forward.
Over the weekend, President Biden held separate phone calls with Presidents Putin and Zelensky to help de-escalate the crisis. The U.S. is now closing its embassy in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, and relocating operations to western Ukraine.
We have made the determination to move our operations to Lviv out of consideration for the safety and security of our personnel on the ground.
Russia is demanding that NATO not allow Ukraine and other former Soviet countries to join the alliance. But Ukraine's foreign ministry rejected that notion, saying the country's right to join NATO is written into Ukraine's constitution. With no diplomatic end in sight, the U.S. is strongly urging any remaining U.S. citizens in Ukraine to leave the country immediately. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Let's bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe now. Hi, Ed. So we did hear Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby saying that President Putin has added to his forces in the past 24 to 48 hours. Now, we've been talking about an imminent invasion for a while now. So how much warning, if any, do you think that we will get at this point?
That's unclear, Tanya, which is part of why you've seen American officials continue to say it could happen at any moment, and why you saw starting on Friday the White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and others pleading with Americans, the thousands of them who live and work in Ukraine, to get out if they so choose, and do it now, because U.S. forces are not going to go in to try to rescue them if some kind of military action is undertaken inside Ukraine. All this comes as the president today held another round of diplomatic talks, this time with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, to swap notes on the ongoing situation. He spoke yesterday, of course, with the Ukrainian leader, Zelensky, as well. Here at the White House, they continue to insist an invasion could happen at any time. They were asked about these comments from the Foreign Minister of Russia, Lavrov, about the possibility of talks with the West and whether that should be considered de-escalation, and the White House wouldn't go there, saying no. They're the ones, the Russians, that continue to send personnel and equipment to the Ukrainian border to encircle that country, not us. And unless or until we see something different, the belief of the United States, at least, is that some kind of military action could be taken at any time. And Ed, we're hearing about Russia potentially using false flag tactics. How could that play out? Well, it's unclear how specifically that might play out, but this is what sparked the big concern that began last Friday, when on Thursday the White House was told about the possibility of some kind of false flag attack, that essentially Russia would try to stir up something within Ukraine, whether it's some kind of unprovoked attack on the Russians or some other disturbance that the Russians would then be able to use as their reasons for starting some kind of military action. And so the U.S. put that information out there into the ether to try to make it known that, hey, we're aware of what you're trying to do here, Russia, and to sort of, again, signal to Ukraine and to other European countries, this is how it could begin. There's also, of course, still the possibility that there could be some kind of cyber attack, some other kind of disturbance provoked by Russian entities inside Ukraine to try to destabilize that country's government or economy or society generally, and allow Russia to take in or invade at least parts of the country, at least the eastern parts. So that is what continues to concern U.S. officials. It's why the White House continues to keep this public posture of its concern and belief that something could be imminent at any moment. And by laying all this out, the thought is you've warned the Europeans, you've warned the Ukrainians, you've warned the world that you're aware of the situation and what Russia might do to provoke one. And you're warning Russia that the United States has its eyes on what they're doing, and should they decide to go, you've been called out for doing so.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Ed O'Keefe at the White House, thank you so much.